Okay, I'm really excited for today's conversation because I'm joined by Monica Browning. And you guys, she's honestly known as the child whisperer, which you're going to understand why very quickly. She's also a realtor, the author of The Connected Parent, and she spent nearly 20 years in early childhood education. But what I love most about her work is how she helps parents go from feeling reactive and overwhelmed to actually feeling calm, confident, and deeply connected with their kids. And not in months, like in days. Her entire approach is rooted in this idea that behavior is communication and that connection has to come before correction. And she teaches this through her 7 pillars of parenting alignment, which are super practical tools that help with things like tantrums, power struggles, and just creating a more authentic relationship with your child. She blends emotional awareness, nervous system regulation, and real time coaching in a way that creates shifts that you can feel right away. And honestly, her mission is so powerful because she's here to change the way we raise children by helping parents transform themselves first. So let's welcome Monica Browning. Hi, Monica. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's so great to be. Thank you for hosting and inviting me on. I love your whole mission and your purpose and passion, and again, sharing like-mindedness and however we can help and cultivate kindness and more authenticity and
Yes.
and following your dreams and all the things. I'm here for it
Yeah, let's get the energy out in the world.
for sure.
Well, let's start. Well, where do you want to start? I know your story and your backstory, but where would you like to start? Do you want to go into your backstory and start from there?
Well, first, I think what just made me think of it before because of your story. Actually, it was just a reminder of of how women, and especially now, because one of my mentors. But I was just thinking about this about how competition is the thief of joy,
Yeah.
or comparison is the thief of joy. And really, what I've been focusing on most lately is like when I see other people having or being or doing something it's like thank you God for that confirmation that I can do it too, and
Yes.
however it's going to get there, it's definitely going to be a different path or however it looks, but it's just like, oh, thank you for showing me what's available, or thank you for showing me what's possible. And that is part of my story, is kind of like just like keep going, like never giving up, even when it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like anything's happening or feels hard or scary or all those things. I mean, the quick backstory, the the condensed version is, I spent like the first 20 years almost of my life in the classroom, with early childhood education, and while was in the classroom, like at night, I worked hospitality and restaurants and was going to school at night because the sad part about education is that it doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so I was working multiple jobs, paying the bills and going to school and getting my education and all those things. And then fast forward to meeting my former husband and having the life of my dreams in that next chapter of being a full-time mom, which is what I always dreamed of being. Um, and and we were active duty military, so I had the privilege of being, I mean, it was a choice because we thought like it was would have cost more money to send our kids to where I worked, taking care of
Yeah.
other people's children than it would have been to stay home with my own kids. And so I did that for almost 10 years, and then fast forward to divorce, and then learning that I didn't want to go back into the classroom, but I knew I wanted to help people. And then I organically went into real estate, which I absolutely love. And I this all kind of ties it all together, is because it all starts at home. And home is more than an address. Is I feel like even now more than ever, society, we want to blame teachers, we want to blame the government, and we want to blame the weather, and we want to blame everything externally. But it's like, who am I, and how am I showing up? With the parents, coming back to the like the connected parent, which is why I wrote this book. Um, and in real estate is like, helping people buy and sell homes. It's a very intimate job as far as, getting to know people and the psychology of people and how, people are, needing to downsize or get a bigger home or th things like that. And so anyway, um, yeah, being out of the classroom was like I got all my education. And it's like basically backed up by science. I mean, it's not just I didn't just make all this stuff up. It's values and principles that I practiced every single day. Like parenting is a practice, and if you want to be good at it, you have to be intentional and conscious of it every single day. It's just like everything else. If you want to be good at riding a bike, you have to practice. And so that's kind of that's like the short version of me.
Yeah, and let's get into it a little more. I was taking notes about, because I definitely want to get to the book and your journey now, but why did you originally get into education?
Oh my gosh. From a very young age, I knew I loved being with children. I
Mm.
was coined like the child whisperer. My mommy would always even tell me that I was good with children. Like I was better with children as a child than some other grown-ups were, and I started babysitting at a very young age. I always played house, imaginary play. Like I just knew in my bones that I was going to be. I joke with my ex-husband that I was gonna, like I said, I wanted to have 10 kids and live on a farm. I just thought I was. I come from a very small family, and I wanted to have a big family, and I just thought that that was what the path would be. But it turns out that my family was really when I was a teacher in the classroom, and managing a classroom full of 2 and 3 year olds full time is a very wild experience that most parents or people don't have. I mean,
Yeah.
I say this all the time, it's like you either we know how we were raised, and
Hmm.
we either want to do like the same or the opposite, or like we
Yeah.
always say, you end up like your parents, or you're doing the things like our parents, or we want to do the opposite. And that's usually, one end of the spectrum. And either end of the spectrum is more commonly not like a healthy, healed, you know, present time.
Yeah. Are you
So
intuitive? Do you think that's why you, from a young age, you always resonated with kids?
very intuitive. And it's like I can see into their soul. Like
Yeah, that
even
makes
now,
sense.
I mean, like I'm in a grocery store and like the babies will will make eye contact with the babies, and I just feel their energy, and it's a very intuitive, organic, like I don't even know if I can put words to it, but it's a feeling. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a feeling. And I've been naturally always good with children. In fact, some of my clients, they're dear friends of mine. I help them buy a condo, buy a house, sell a condo, and they had to sell their condo because they have they were pregnant and they didn't know it. And then they
Okay.
have their little girl. And so I come over and I babysit for them sometimes when they come, so they can go out to dinner. And the other day I was just visiting, they were in town, and I went over and was visiting them, and I went over and I said, "Oh, can I?" And she's 3 now. And I said, "Oh, can I hold you?" And um, so I was holding her, and the mom said, even her friends don't let her do that. Like the mom's friends don't
Oh,
let the little
wow.
one do that.
Yeah.
So it's just this like it's an unspoken connection. And yeah, I definitely think, thank you for saying that, is seeing that. It is a very intuitive.
Yeah. Also, I feel like that is really representative of who you are as a person because and this is just my personal opinion. I don't know if there's like science or energetics behind it, but I feel like if babies or dogs feel safe with you and like you, then I feel like you're just a really good person with good energy. You know what I mean? Because
Yes,
both babies and dogs are also very intuitive. So they're not going to be friendly with someone who's dangerous to them. You know what I mean?
such a good point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you yeah, for sure. In fact, Um, like the dog whisperer. I don't know if you know Caesar Milan. Did we talk
Yeah.
about him last time? I can't remember, but yeah, I'm like the child whisperer. It's like, and it does come with, there is an intuitive element for sure, and then there is the education and the experience behind it all.
Yeah.
And so I've spent a long time in my life learning and studying human development and being around little people. But the dogs and the Caesar Milan, it's like the same thing. And I've
Interesting.
adopted some of his, we're mammals, so
Yeah.
mammals instinctively feel safe or threatened, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a very interesting perspective.
So how did that play out with having your own kids? Because I'm sure there were still challenges in its own right being a mom, right? But that might have been something nice to have in your back pocket as opposed to other parents who didn't have that same like intuitive ability with their children like you did.
Yes, of course. And that's the thing. And that's why I call it a practice.
Yeah.
And because and also to try to take away the judgment and the shame. Like if my kids behave a certain way, XYZ, then
Mhm.
that makes me a bad mom, or
Yeah.
whatever. And that is like ultimately not true, right? And I know that's how we kind of come back to like oh sorry uh um Dr. Brene Brown, how she says she was having this conversation with her husband, and because her husband's a pediatrician, and she said, "Do you think that, parents are doing the best that they can?" And he was like, "I have to believe that, right? Like we believe that our parents are doing the very best that they can with the knowledge that they have in the moment that they have it." And that's what's happened, at home with me, because it's very different when I'm a teacher and I go into the classroom and I am with all these children and they go home to their parents
Yeah.
versus me being at home with my own children, doing going through all of the things that I'm going through. So yes, I do have practice and education, but I still have two human beings that have their own personalities and their own wants and needs, and navigating that, I call it ages and stages. It's like we have to
Mm.
go grow through growing through ages and stages, and it's going to be different for everyone. So it is nice to have like some of the science and the practice and the education behind it, and it still is a daily intention for me to, and I is how I call it, is to be able to respond versus reacting. Like
Yes.
like if they're whatever they're doing. But it's also an energy exchange. So when I'm freaking out and I'm stressed out and I've got a lot going on, their energy sponges, especially when they're little. And that's why the more we yell, the more nothing good happens, right? It's
Yeah. I
like,
grew up in an angry household, so I know.
yeah. And I love that quote about Rumi. It's in my book. It's like, we need the thunder doesn't grow the flowers. And,
Yeah.
it's like, and I learned that I think that was when I really first started to recognize my behaviors, how my pillars came into shape, is when I was singing the cleanup song for the kids. And I just got louder and more frustrated. And it was like, nobody's listening. Like the room is chaos. And why isn't anybody putting the blocks away?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was having like an out of body experience, witnessing myself being all freaked out and not understanding the psychology of where they're at, and my energy was the ripple effect. And so I just got quiet and I got down on the ground and I started singing softly and I started to put the blocks away, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's Miss Monica doing? And
Mm.
they're like, I just get chills. I just got chills
I
thinking
just got
about it
chills
because
too. Yeah. Because yeah, they feel
But
safer that way, right? And then it creates the curiosity and
exactly. And then it becomes like, oh, use your muscles, put the blocks away. And they're like, oh, I can do this. And they're like, put the blocks away. And then we're all just like, now we're singing and we're jiving and everything. And but like before you know it, we're back on track and everybody's, fall in it. And so those moments build upon each other. And that's what I got to bring into my own home. Because when I was teaching, I wrote this like just this pamphlet that was called Bridging the Gap, because I wanted to bridge the gap of what I was doing in the classroom to like for parents to like mimic what I was saying in the classroom, they could do it at home. And it's totally different at home. And I was saying that I was a teacher with no children, but it's
So
the
I was just
same,
going to ask because you didn't have your kids yet, right? When you were a
right?
teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely makes a difference. I'm like, what do you, I mean, thinking in my head, like, what do you mean they're not going to eat the sandwich that you make? I mean, like, that's ridiculous. You know, like, of course they're going to eat and like everything that you cook. Like, and then I ended up writing the Picky Eater playbook because, I grew through, and we joke about it now. I mean, my baby just turned 16,
Oh.
and I'm still like I unpacked. There's still things like something else that I use as a term that I try to teach is that I get to instead of I have to do all these things.
Mm.
Like I get to make her lunch because it brings me joy, not because she's asking me to do it or she's not capable of doing it. But it brings me so much joy, and I know I have this tiny window of time before she's, like, but so I just even at 16 or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, I don't see your little, lunchbox or whatever." And so I go get it. And I'm like, "Really? You couldn't eat the little little like we couldn't eat the apples that I packed you. Like, well, I don't, like whatever, So it still happens, but it's like, but like, really, who cares? Like, it's not a big deal. It's my own reaction, right? So, I mean, that's just one small example, but there's a lot of things. I mean, but I definitely I always say, like, they used to put the boys in my classroom because I have boundaries and they
Mhm.
know. And I've been consistent with my boundaries all the time. And it doesn't mean that we don't have, um, like it's not always easy. I mean, their boundaries are challenging for a reason because, we have to be consistent with them, especially as a single parent.
So what was the transition like from going to teaching with no kids to stay-at-home mom with kids?
Well, I will say, and the truth is, in the beginning, it was blissful. It really was because I
Hmm.
was living a dream of mine.
Yeah.
And but I will say that it did get lonely. And that's the other thing is that that's the other reason, like I think that this platform and so many others now, especially with Zoom, I mean, this was so long ago. I mean, it's like, 16 years ago that this didn't really exist.
Hmm.
But I do want to dispel that, we're to get help, to ask for help.
Yeah.
I never asked for help ever. I didn't even think that it was, first of all, being able to receive the help would have been, you know,
Yeah, that's a
don't
huge
ask
part
for
of asking for help. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it's like it's a two-part learning process to
Yeah.
first ask and we're being willing to receive it and asking for it are two major life lessons. But just knowing that you're not alone, like you're growing through all of these things that everyone grows through, and you're not alone.
Is that why it's hard to
Um,
ask for help because you feel like, well, I'm the only one going through this? So, or like, do you feel incapable as a mom somehow?
Yeah, of course. That it's just like, well, I'm not good enough if I ask
Mm.
for help, or you should, or I mean, of course, you studied this, you should know it. Um, you've or you only have two kids. Some people have four, or like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, oh,
yeah. It's
again,
definitely
it's
get
that
easy to get in comparison with that. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, for sure. Um, but as they grew, and plus we were military, so we moved 7 times in 10 years. That was a
Oh,
lot.
wow.
And then different careers. And then when we landed here, we've been here now for 17 years, which is like a long time. Um, and and I will say though that going through all of the challenges and all of the things is that I mean, I say like I was an athlete. I was training for long distance races, and I was in grad school, and my double stroller was my best friend. So I feel like because I was moving my body, it was a moving meditation, and I was teaching myself breath work, and I wasn't aware of it at the time.
Yeah.
So I would 100% encourage any movement. And my kids were I mean, like they were babies, but I took them to the pool for, mommy and me swim classes. So being in the water was therapy. Um, And fortunately, like you, I mean, I live at the ocean, so being,
Yeah.
being at the ocean is so therapeutic, just in nature. And I also have that
Oh,
in my book. Is like
yeah.
we are mirroring I mean, nature. We are nature. Nature is within us. And
Yeah.
I was having a fascinating conversation with my daughter that I ended up putting in the book because it was just like, wow, this is pretty profound for a. I mean, she was, I don't know, 14 or 15 at the time. But when we are in nature, that is what heals us, and we deny it so much. Like because we don't, we're with whatever if we're at our desk job or we're, driving all the time. I mean, I know I am for work a lot, but I think body movement, dance. I mean, we do. We
Yeah.
don't do them as much anymore, but spontaneous dance parties in the kitchen.
I try to do that almost every single day. It's so healthy and feels so good. Yeah.
Doesn't it feel so good? The dance party part?
Yes, I have dance parties as often as possible,
I
actually.
love that.
I actually do it when, like, if I'm washing dishes or putting away laundry or just doing something like dull that I did really don't want to do. I try to like spice it up by dancing. But then I
I
usually get
love
carried away
that.
dancing.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, right, where everything goes. You don't
Yeah.
have to be great at it. And that's the other thing. I wrote another chapter that was the catalyst to my book was called Connection, Not Perfection. Because we're so
Mhm.
conditioned to have to, like, everything has to be perfect, everything has to be just right. And when I was teaching a college class, I was saying to my students, these are adults. I was like, turn in your homework. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah,
They're like, just do your work. So just dance, right? It doesn't matter as long as we're moving the energy, we're moving the body, we're moving through. And I don't dance often enough, actually. I used
that's
to,
how I
I used
feel.
to,
Yeah.
I love it that you do. I'm like, I was almost every day. And then again, that's like, you know, life happens and we forget, or I forget, or whatever. But yeah, going to the beach is a must for me. But it's kind of like my other movie meditation. But sometimes I just dance around at the beach and scream out and do whatever,
Oh,
you know.
really? That's awesome. I love that.
Yes, I love it even more now than ever. I'm just like, yeah, I just scream out loud to the universe because it helps.
It does help. Yeah. Well, tell us more about your book because you just gave us a little glimpse, but what is the name? What's the overall concept?
Oh gosh, thank you. Yeah, another passion project. It's called The Connected Parent: How to Raise Children Who Feel Seen, Safe, and Worthy. And this is, I don't know if you can see that, but
Yeah.
the hummingbird has always been a special um sign, signal, just a favorite bird of mine. And and I was thinking about the cover of this book. Well, first of all, hummingbirds are like one of the only superbirds that can fly and hover and zigzag
Mhm.
and fly in all the different directions. And I was thinking, oh my God, that's so much like a parent or, a parent. I mean, for me, mom, because I'm the woman, but I know I just met a single dad that, he did a job for me. And I was just thinking there are single parents out there. Um, and then even if you're in a relationship, I feel like this is a relationship book. It's not just a parenting book because children are our greatest mirror of relationships,
Yeah.
and they are ultimately probably our biggest trigger. And when they feel safe to be authentically themselves with us, that's where we get to grow the most. And so anyway, I was trying to figure, I was thought that the cover of my book was going to be like a picture of me and my girls. And um and it didn't turn out that way. I was in my storage shed and I was flipping through these things and I found this painting that I painted over COVID. And it was of
Mm.
hummingbirds. And I was just like, oh my gosh, maybe that could be the cover of my book. And so this was really a picture of the painting that I did, um, which is another part of the expression. But so
Yeah,
it's
that's a cool
really,
backstory.
thank you. It was really fun how it all like synchronous, like it just all, organically came together. And I was just really first of all, being allowing myself to be vulnerable enough to like put my art out there is like, you just painted this over COVID. Like,
It looks amazing.
thank you. It was really a special time because COVID, my youngest left fourth grade and never went back until, sixth
Mm,
grade. And my
yeah.
my oldest left sixth grade and didn't go back until eighth grade. And they're not
Oh,
2 years
that's
in age, but they're two
interesting.
grades. So that was a whole nother learning experience. But the pill there I based my book on these seven pillars that I also believe are the seven chakras. They're in alignment with the seven chakras. And it starts with awareness, like the crown and the root. Well, the crown and the root is the bottom is boundaries. So it's like we have to have awareness, and when we're firm in our boundaries, it's like everything is in alignment. And when we're out of alignment, we feel it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's really easy. It's easy reading. It's been a passion project of mine for a really long time. And when I published it a couple years ago already, it seems like, was it last year? The year before? I mean, it's all blurring together now, but um, yeah. So because when I was in the classroom, I would have parent-teacher conferences, and I was more closely related to the parents. And I was with the kids all day, but then I would have these interactions with the parents. But it's really the parents that need the help more than the kids,
Yeah.
which is another philosophy of mine that is probably wildly different, that people always want to change the behavior of the child, but we have to start with ourselves. And that's a hard one to look at, like mirror
Yeah.
work.
I can't remember if you and I talked about this, but one of my early mentors, at the time, his son was only 2 to 3 years old, but he was telling us about how one of the best parenting books he ever read, it wasn't about like what to do with your kids or actual parenting. It was about doing the inner work to be a better version of yourself.
Yeah, I remember we did talk about it. You
Okay.
mentioned that. I don't remember the book though.
Yeah, and I don't think I
But
ever like did more to look into the name. I'll do that. I'm actually gonna.
yeah. I mean, it really is. And another mentor of mine, and I've been saying this for a long time, but he actually said it like out loud. I think I just internally knew it because I had been working in the classroom. But we're essentially like little children in grown-up bodies
Yeah.
because of the needs that didn't get met. But nobody knew about those needs that get, and when the child doesn't get their needs met, they intrinsically believe that it's their fault.
Yes.
So they believe that they are bad or wrong or not being a good girl or did not don't be a good, don't be a bad boy, clean your room, be a good girl. And so it's all these conditions. And we say we love our kids unconditionally, but like, my kid didn't eat her apple and I'm just like, "Really? You couldn't eat your apple?" Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a conditional based love on my that I am putting on her. Like, does
But
that make sense?
it
Like,
makes sense. And I love that's why awareness is one of your pillars because you have to have that awareness that how her not eating the apple is triggering you.
right.
Because otherwise you're just going to be
Exactly.
upset about the apple.
For sure. Exactly. And then there's the second pillar is awareness or is responsibility.
Okay.
Because then I have to take responsibility to discover like what is that trigger? Like probably growing up because I grew up with the clean plate club and I grew up with like
Me
scarcity
too. Yeah.
mentality and my grandmother like telling me like, well, you have to finish your plate and don't waste food.
Yes.
All of these things that have nothing to do with this child
Hmm.
relationship. You know what I mean? But it's just a story that I was taught based on my ancestors and all of those things. And that's how these things get passed on. And that's why, like, my whole purpose was like change the parenting paradigm. So if I can be aware of the way that I'm reacting to the stupid apple, it's not about the apple. It's
Right.
about the story that I got told that, maybe we, didn't have enough money for food. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but my grandparents didn't. I mean, they came over on the boat with, like like they didn't have, they grew up poor and um, so I'm just saying that that's kind of like how the story, that's just one example, but it's like we also like keeping up our room, but cleaning the room and things like those things make the grown up feel better. The kids don't care,
Yeah.
like so we have to become aware of how are we behaving as adults. And because they will ultimately they do what they see. And we want to be good role models. And
Yeah.
I've said this before, like we want our kids to be healthy or active or not on their screens. And then they see us doing it all. They see us drinking and eating and watching TV, whatever it is. Like I don't know. I know I already mentioned that I stopped drinking, but um, uh, they end up mirroring what we do, not what we say. But
Yeah.
what we say ultimately become their thoughts, if that makes sense.
Yes, for sure. Because that was the crazy thing as an adult. I realized that almost all of my beliefs were not facts. They were actually just my parents' beliefs.
Right. That's why Byron Katie's work is so powerful.
Oh
Like, is
yeah.
it true? Is it really, really true?
Yes. Yeah, and that was especially true with a lot of beliefs I had around money because like for instance, my mom had a very scarce mindset when it came to money because it's like if you had money, that means you're taking away from other people. And
Mm,
so even though logically I knew that wasn't true, it was just so ingrained in my belief system and I never
yeah.
even questioned it, what is this true?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, these things weren't taught. That's why. I mean, I mean, I know Byron Katie's work goes back a long time now, but it's like it's not the mass, it's consciousness yet. I
Yeah.
mean, it's growing faster, I
I think it
think.
is too. And also, I think parents are being more aware because I feel like it used to be more like a responsibility and going through the motions. Whereas I think people are more concerned about how am I raising my kid and how does that impact them? Like, have you seen a shift in that?
I have. And then I've seen a lot lately about the gentle parenting, and these are all like new terms that never
Yeah.
really existed back when I was in school and also as a teacher. And I had a client actually one time, and she was talking about with her little one, um, that she realized that her gentle parenting was mirroring the way that she was parented. Like too much freedom. Like I want to let my child
Mm,
decide. I want to let my child be free to play and to do, all of these things. But then children actually thrive on structure. They
yeah, I've
actually
heard that.
need to have boundaries. They need to have that consistency that no, I actually had one. Well, anyway, to wrap up that client, once she started to implement like boundaries, it seems like a foreign concept, but to go from airy fairy, like, oh, you decide, and oh, what do you want to have for dinner, and oh, what do you, blah, 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 like let the child doesn't have a logical brain.
Right.
So they can't make these decisions. And we say, they're 8 going on 18. No, they're not. They're just because they have an opinion doesn't mean that they're capable of making these logical choices. And even if they are, you're the parent. I remember my parents would, my dad would be like, "You're the mom. Like you're the parent. You just,
Yeah.
my." But once she started implementing, some routines, she noticed a significant difference in the child's behavior and willingness to like get ready for bed and get ready for school. And it was a phenomenal transformation that she recognized because she had that awareness, like, oh my God, this is how I was raised, of having all these choices. And it turns out, obviously, I always say, I always kind of talk a lot. So if I'm not making sense, but like children, if you give them like, do you want the blue cup or the green cup? That's a reasonable expectation that they can choose from. Not like,
Yeah.
what cup do you want? Did you see the difference?
Oh,
It's like this
yeah.
or that.
Well, is it even as an adult, the like a lot of options kind of feels overwhelming sometimes.
For sure,
Yeah.
right? We go to the market and we're like standing there like, oh my God, there's 17 boxes of cereal. I just want, like,
Yeah. On that note, because I used to live in Chicago. So in Chicago, everything is available. So you go to the store, there's like a gazillion different kinds of everything. And then I moved to Hawaii and the options are very limited. But that actually makes my shopping much more efficient because I can choose really easily. I don't sit there staring at the yogurt
Yes.
section, wondering what I actually want. So even in
Yeah.
adults, that makes a big difference.
It really does. And this is a great way to teach the child autonomy, but it's also like, I'm comfortable with the green or the blue cup. Which one do you want? You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
internally, this is what's going on. It's not like the parent makes the ultimate decision, but you're giving the child the option to choose this or that. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with, with like I don't know, do you want broccoli or carrots? I mean, do you want this or that? Do you want these shoes or those shoes, so that they still get to participate, but that we're
Yeah, and then
not
they also
overloading
feel like
them.
their opinion matters because I was raised in an environment where I never felt like my opinion mattered. And that
Yes,
has effects later on.
of course. And that's part of like my title. It's like children, they just want to feel seen. They want to feel safe. And when I say safe, I mean like safe to express. Like
Yes.
if they want to put on the skirt and twirl around in the skirt, but we say no, you can't wear the skirt. Like, I mean, I know that there's some parameters. I'm being very general,
Yeah, I
and
know
that
what you
there,
mean. Yeah.
but I mean, it's safe to feel authentic and express,
Or like
and that's what I.
spontaneous even, because I love that you do spontaneous dance with your kids. I know they're older now, but I think that's healthy for anyone just to be able to express yourself and have that spontaneity.
Yes, exactly, and I still do it. Sometimes they'll chime in, but most of the time it depends. But as they get older, but a lot of times they will just dance. But I know the relationship that I have with my kids now is like the proof and evidence that uh, not that I'm a good mom or I did the right thing, but that I'm a present mom. And
Yeah.
like I'm like I'm very intentional. And another huge piece to this is my apology. Like I recognize when I'm make a mistake as what most of the time. I mean, and when I don't, they're like, it's not about you, mom. And I was like, oh, thank you for the reminder. Like, like I was taking things personally, and then that was, or whatever it is, but I'm very intentional. And so I do try to be um, um, mindful of what I say and when I say it and correct myself. I call it
Yeah.
course correcting
Yeah.
because, if I make a mistake, I'm saying, I'm sorry, I said this to you, or I'm sorry that I overreacted or whatever. And in turn, they they do that to me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference. I mean, if I'm like, I'm right because I'm the parent, you know, that's going to put up a wall forever.
Yeah. I think that was very common in my generation growing up. Like that's how our parents were like, we're the parent and this is the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that there's also it's nuanced because there's boundaries, but it's also I know a level of awareness that we're human beings and they're human beings,
Yeah.
and so they matter and they're the other thing that I say is, if a child wants to hug you, um, don't let go until they do. Like, so to really to
Mm.
breathe into that moment so they can feel safe enough to receive that full hug and be in that moment. Because a lot of times the children, and I back to the dog, I feel like children, I use the analogy of cats. Like cats come over to you, they they claw at you, they want your attention, they want your attention, they want your attention. You're always like busy, I'm pushing them away or whatever. If you just pick up the cat and hold the cat for 5 or however long, they jump out of your arms.
Yeah, that's a good
It's the same
analogy.
thing
Yeah.
with kids. Kids just need you. They need you. They need you. They get you. They feel safe. They feel seen. They feel worthy. They go on their way and play. I mean,
Yeah, I think that just goes on an overall theme of life. I think we tend to overcomplicate things, right? Because you probably don't want to take a break or whatever to spend time with your kid, but it just takes, what, 5 minutes to give them a hug and be present.
oh my gosh, that is so true. Especially like coming home from work when we're all exhausted, we're all tired. We get in the door, pick them up from kid, pick them up. from school, we get in the house, we got to make the dinner, we got to do the mail, we got to respond, feed the cats, feed the dogs, take the dog out, blah, 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 if we just come home and sat on the floor and play with your kids for 5 minutes, I guarantee you the entire energy of the household will change.
There's the parenting advice. We're done. I'm just kidding.
There you go. That'll be $2,000. But no, I mean, like that's because like you said, we complicate it. But if we could just break it down,
Yeah.
the simplest thing is because we don't feel seen, we don't feel heard, we don't feel worthy, we don't feel valued, we feel rushed, we feel pushed off. Like everybody goes into their own rooms for dinner. I have a master class on mealtime. Uh, it's also in my book too. It's just like I don't know if it's the same in Hawaii. I mean, we did just come back, but everywhere you go, even at the nicest of nicest restaurants now, like there's TVs. It's like
Oh, yeah.
everywhere you go, kids are on their devices. Parents are, I believe so strongly that every meal is an opportunity to reconnect with your kids. And that has been a consistent staple in our household is to have a meal together every day.
And again, like that's like really simple and easy, but nobody's doing it.
Yeah, it because it takes practice, it takes time, and it
Yeah.
takes commitment. It takes the consistency. It's like all of my pillars are wrapped up into mealtime. I mean, they can be, and we have a no phone rule, of course, at the table. But mealtime is just it's precious. I mean, that's what like if you go way back in time, like breaking bread, that was a real
Oh,
thing in the
yeah.
Bible, or I don't know the Bible very well, but yes, that's a real thing. Um, so and it's also where organic conversation, like kids don't know how to conversate anymore.
Yeah. I know, like, because I feel like that was a skill I lacked because we didn't eat dinner together. So it's like such a simple way to learn a lot of things.
Yes, it's a beautiful way to, I mean, a lot of times, more so, in the most recent past, but we're still even now have a meal together. But they would be like, "I'll tell you at dinner," they're like because they knew that and like like the term, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." It's like what happens at the table stays at the table. Like
Ooh, so
it's
it's
like
like
a
a
sacred
sacred
circle
place. Yeah.
of of confidence or not confidence,
Confidant.
confidence.
Or yeah, I don't know.
What was that word? Yeah, speaking of words,
I know what you mean.
we can confide in each other and have that sacred circle of whatever we said at the table stays at the table, or whatever happened at the table, and it
Because
just
it's
became
also
a real.
important because you want your kids to be able to tell you hard things. So if they have that safe space to do it, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and I still tuck my kids in. I mean, it looks different now than it did, before, but reading to your kids, especially when they're little. I mean, I had books, when I was even changing their diaper, I would give them a book, a little board book, and always talking about books. And now books, actually, for one of their project, we did a book, um, um, of, to collect books, but yeah, reading to your kids is another way to. This is another thing is that kids want to read the same book every single night, and the parents are like, "I just read that book. I've read that book
Yeah.
17,000 times. I don't want to read that book another time. If I have to see that book again, I'm going to kill myself." I mean, it's like, but no, that is their anchor into safety. And so
Yeah.
you start off with that book, and you bring a backup book, bring another book, but that's such a testament to their secure attachment. It's like if they want to read that same book because they know and love and trust that book,
Yeah.
it's our own issue that we want to read, don't want to read the same book. So
Oh,
we just.
yeah, because it's boring to you. Yeah. Also, that's how I learned to read because my favorite book was a Bert and Ernie book. And so through my parents reading it to me every day and following along with what they
Mhm.
were reading, that's how I learned to read because I learned to associate the words with what was on the page.
Wow, I love that you remember that.
Yeah.
That's so great. And did you have siblings?
Yes, I had an older sister, and I actually learned to read before she did. She's about a year and a half older than me, but I think that's how I learned to read because I wanted that book every day.
Yeah, that's great that they allowed that to happen. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I give that same parenting advice. If people if a child wants that same book, it's like Linus with the blanket, you know? It's like
Mm,
it's ultimately it's okay. You know, and bring more. We're going to read this one and then we'll read this one. And then do you want this one or this one next?
yeah. I know you probably have a list of at least 50 things, but what are your top three parenting tips?
Oh, well, the first one for sure is a meal together with no screens.
Mm,
Um, yeah, that one is huge. I do have a mealtime masterclass, and then I do have a picky eater playbook. Um, and then the hug one, like if a child wants a hug, I mean, I always um first of all, don't take it personally if they don't, but second of all, if they do, don't let go until they do. And just the reframe of
I
I
love
get
that. Yeah.
I get to, you know, do the laundry one more time. You know, I get to pick my kid up from here or there. I get to give my kid a bath again. You know, I get to brush their teeth. I get to tuck them in versus I have to because that energy just even in those words shift and it changes and it matters. It really does. Like my other mentors like they call it spelling for a reason because spells like there's codes and
Yeah.
words.
Words are spells, and they are very powerful because, yeah, simple shifts make a huge deal. Because even hearing you say that, because I have to, feels like such a burden and
Yeah.
like, oh, this is such a struggle. But like, I get to is like, oh, I love doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so great. I mean, like I get to take my kids to school, you know, it's versus oh, I have to take them to school and get up early and I have to do, you know, all of the things that all the parents have to do. We get to reframe that and that's also in my book is because oftentimes in relationships we think that we're going to have kids and that's going to fix the relationship. Like, oh,
Mm.
that'll bring us together. Oh, that'll help.
Totally changes
That'll
the dynamic, right? It's almost like a whole new stage of the relationship.
right. And so sometimes the have to comes out of resentment, you know, for
Mm.
whatever relationship did or didn't go the way we wanted it to go. So, you know, that's probably more than three, but forgiveness,
No, that's okay. I know, and
apology.
you could probably talk for 3 hours, right?
I know. There's so many good things, but it's all relationship based too. It's the same thing. If, you know, if I get to go out with my friend tonight or, you know,
Yeah, I mean, that
it's,
doesn't just apply to parenting. I think that's a
yeah,
great reframe for life.
exactly. I think that that's why you know, your podcast is so valuable for every, you know, relationship because, or for every being, because this is how we get to be. Who are we being in the world and how do we want to show up and what do we
Yeah.
want to attract and what do we want to create and how do we want to be a role model for, you know, ourselves and others.
Yes. So, if someone wants to buy your book or any of your other things, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, thanks. Oh my gosh. Well, my book is on Amazon. I could give you a link.
Yeah,
I get to be better at figuring out the best way to get a hold of me, but I do I am on Instagram, Monica Browning Home, at Instagram.
yeah, because you're
And
also a realtor, and so tell everyone where you live and what you do, just in case
yeah,
you
I
can
mean,
help them with
people
that.
want to relocate. Yeah, I'm in Monterey County, which is a beautiful coastal town. And even if you're not on the ocean, you can get to the ocean quickly from wherever we are. Um, yeah, so Monterey County, California. Actually, I should say that. Monterey
There's
County,
more than
California.
one.
What's that?
There's more than one Monterey County.
I don't know
Oh, but
actually,
it's
but
good
I
to
know
clarify.
there's definitely more than one Paris. I have learned
Oh,
that. Like Paris, Texas, Paris, France, Paris, other areas, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yes, Monterey County, California, then, in case there's
And
another
you're not
one.
even in California, so that's why I was like, oh yes, I better say California.
Oh, yeah, because people might get confused.
Yeah. And I actually have like my clients, I have clients nationwide, I mean worldwide. They're in that's the beauty of Zoom.
Wait, but they're buying homes in Monterey County, though, right?
Oh, well, yes. So for parent coaching, I can do that, globally.
Okay.
But I do have clients that out of area clients that I video tour through property and and then they come into town obviously and see properties, but they're yeah, for real estate, we're in person, it would be here. But I
Yeah.
actually have sold property for clients that didn't live in the home, that lived in another area that I have actually, yeah, never met, but I just handle everything. We talk on the phone or talk, in email. Yeah,
Nice.
because that digital, I mean,
I know it
di
makes it so much easier now because there was a time and age where that wouldn't even have been a possibility, or it would be
yeah,
extremely difficult.
yes. So now, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that want to, if people are don't want to live in the 110-degree weather in Arizona, easy to come here.
Oh, there
Easy,
you go.
easy. Or Texas.
Plug a relocation.
If Texas people want to relocate from Texas to get out of the heat, come here. Um, yeah, I know we were joking. I was joking that we were having a heat wave
Yeah.
warning at 74 last week. And we don't have air conditioning anywhere. Mostly it's not common to have air conditioning because we just have the coastal breeze.
Yes, that's how it is here. And people always think it's weird, but it's like nature is our air conditioner.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I do say living here and living in Hawaii. Those are two great paradises.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Well, thank you
great.
so much for being on. Yes, I will get all your links for you and put them in the description so people have easy ways to get a hold of you in whatever capacity, real estate or parenting.
Thank you. Yes, I look forward to it. Thank you so much for hosting me. I look forward to reconnecting and
Yes.
yeah, this is such a great opportunity to connect.
Yes, thank you.